Picture this. It's 1903, a dusty road in the American heartland. Four brothers, immigrants with a shared dream, are lugging a heavy projector from town to town. Their names are Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack Warner. They weren't movie moguls yet. They were showmen, traveling entertainers with a vision that few could comprehend. They'd roll into a small town, maybe in Pennsylvania or Ohio, find an empty storefront, and start setting up. Their very first theater wasn't glamorous. It was a modest little place they called the Cascade in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and for seating, they borrowed chairs from the local undertaker. Yes, you heard that right, funeral parlor chairs. It's a humble, almost surreal beginning for what would become one of the biggest entertainment empires in the world. Imagine sitting on one of those chairs, the projector worry to life, and watching flickering images on a makeshift screen. For the audience, it was magic. For the Warner brothers, it was the first small step on a very long journey. They weren't just showing movies. They were selling an experience, a moment of escape. They had a knack for understanding what people wanted, a skill that would define their entire legacy. From these humble beginnings, with borrowed chairs and a second-hand projector, the seeds of Hollywood were sown. By the 1910s, the landscape was changing fast. The novelty of moving pictures was turning into a full-blown industry, and the Warner brothers were determined to be at its center. They moved from exhibiting films to producing them, officially incorporating as Warner Brothers Pictures in 1923. Hollywood was a magnet for dreamers, and the Warners were no exception. But they had a secret weapon, an obsession that would change everything. That obsession belonged to Sam Warner. While the other studios were content with silent films, Sam was captivated by a new, risky technology, synchronizing sound with the moving image. You have to understand, this was a massive gamble. Other studio heads thought it was a fad, calling it talking pictures with a sneer. They believed it would ruin the universal art of silent film. But Sam was relentless. You can almost hear him, passionately arguing with his skeptical brothers. People will want to hear the actors talk. This is the future. He saw the potential when no one else did. The studio was heavily in debt, and pouring money into this unproven Vitaphone sound on disc system was a bet the company moved. The tension must have been incredible. Their entire future was riding on this one crazy idea. Then came the night of October 6, 1927, the premiere of The Jazz Singer. The air in the theater was thick with anticipation and skepticism. The film began, mostly silent like any other feature of the day. But then, star Al Jolson looked out at the audience and said the immortal words, wait a minute, you ain't heard nothin' yet." And then he sang. The crowd went wild. It was an earth-shattering moment. Sound had arrived, and it was glorious. Sadly, the man who championed it all, Sam Warner, wasn't there to see his triumph. He had died just one day before the premiere. His dream was realized, but he never got to witness the revolution he started. The success of The Jazz Singer didn't just save Warner Brothers. It catapulted them into the major leagues and effectively ended the silent film era overnight. Every other studio had to scramble to catch up. The Warners, once the underdogs with borrowed chairs, were now the pioneers of a new age in cinema. With the advent of sound, Warner Brothers found its voice in more ways than one. As America plunged into the Great Depression in the 1930s, the studio carved out a unique identity. They didn't just make escapist fantasies, they made movies that felt real, ripped from the headlines. Their films were gritty, fast-paced, and tough. They were the voice of the common man, reflecting the anxieties and struggles of the era. This was the golden age of the gangster film. Think of actors like James Cagney and Edward G. Robinson, machine guns blazing, talking tough and smoky back. Films like The Public Enemy and Little Caesar weren't just entertainment. They were social documents, capturing the dark side of the American dream. The studio became known for its lean, mean storytelling. They didn't waste a frame. The dialogue was sharp, the pacing was relentless, and the characters were unforgettable. But it wasn't just about gangsters. Warner Bros. Tackled social issues head-on, something other studios shied away from. They made films about chain gangs, corrupt politicians, and crusading journalists. They had a social conscience. This grit and realism bled into another genre they perfected, film noir. As the 40s and 50s rolled in, the Warner Bros. Lot became synonymous with shadow-drenched cityscapes and cynical detectives. Picture Humphrey Bogart in a trench coat, the collar turned up against the rain, standing under a flickering streetlight. A beautiful but dangerous woman emerges from the shadows. That iconic image, that's Warner Brothers, through and through. Films like The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca defined an entire generation of cinema. They created heroes who were flawed, world-weary, but ultimately stood for something. Jack Warner, the last brother in charge, ran the studio with an iron fist, demanding efficiency and churning out classics. This wasn't the glitz and glamour of MGM. This was the tough working-class studio that told stories with dirt under their fingernails, and audiences loved them for it. From those gritty black-and-white dramas to the vibrant colors of the modern era, the legacy of the four brothers is everywhere. Think about the sheer scope of their influence. From the zany antics of Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes, which defined animation for generations, to the sweeping epics that filled the screen. When you see a caped crusader defending Gotham City in Batman, you're seeing the evolution of those dark noir cityscapes. When you re on the edge of your seat watching a mind-bending sci-fi like The Matrix or Inception, you're experiencing the same spirit of innovation that brought sound to the movies. When you explore the magical halls of Hogwarts in the Harry Potter series, you're witnessing the studio's ability to capture the imagination of a global audience. It's a relentless parade of iconic moments, characters, and worlds that have become part of our collective cultural DNA. The montage of their history is a highlight reel of cinema itself. Each clip, each musical score, each unforgettable line of dialogue is a testament to their enduring power to entertain, to challenge, and to inspire. It all comes back to those four brothers, Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack, sons of a Polish immigrant shoemaker who couldn't have imagined the empire their children would build. Their story is the American dream writ large. It's a story of risk, of innovation, and of a deep, abiding belief in the power of storytelling. They started with nothing but a projector and some borrowed funeral chairs, and they built a kingdom of dreams. The modern Warner Bros. Shield, that iconic WB logo that fills the screen at the start of a film, isn't just a corporate brand, it's a symbol. It has a tribute to the legacy of four brothers who dared to believe that people wanted to hear the actors talk, that stories could reflect the real world, and that a little bit of movie magic could change everything. From a dusty road in Ohio to the global stage, the Warner story is a reminder that the greatest adventures often have the humblest of beginnings. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this trip through movie history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more stories from the world of cinema.